Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chanda Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chanda Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chanda Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So we are reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Adi-lila Chapter 8, entitled The Author Receives the Orders of Krishna and Guru, starting from text 58. So translations and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyacha Deshatarane. Actually, not 58, 59. So Adi-lila Chapter 8, 59. Pandita Gosanira Shishya Ananta Acharya Krishna Prema Maya Tanu Udara Sarva Arya. Ananta Acharya was a disciple of Gadadhar Pandit. His body was always absorbed in love of Godhead. He was magnanimous and advanced in all respects. So we're talking about how there's this amazing devotee in Vrindavan, and what's his name? Haridas Pandit, right? And he's a disciple of Ananta Acharya, and he is one of the people who is the inspiration behind Krishnadas Kaviraj writing the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this is really interesting how Krishnadas Kaviraj is being a little autobiographical here in telling the story of what inspired him to write this amazing book. Okay, text 60. Tanhara Ananta Guna Ke Karu Prakasha Tanra Priya Shishya Inha Pandita Haridasa. Oh, good to go.
Anantacharya was the reservoir of all good qualities. No one can estimate how great he was. Pandit Haridas was his beloved disciple. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhasya Shades of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Previously, during the advent of Lord Sri Krishna, Ananta Acharya was Sudevi, one of the 8 gopis. This is stated in Gaura Gano Desha Deepika 165 as follows: Anantacharya Goswami Ya Sudevi Pura Braje. Ananta Acharya Goswami was formerly Sudevi Gopi in Braja, Vrindavan. In Jagannath Puri or Purushottam Kshetra, there is a monastery known as Ganga Matha that was established by Ananta Acharya. In the disciplinic succession of the Ganga Matha, he is known as Vinoda Manjari. One of his disciples was Haridas Pandit Goswami, who is also known as Sri Raghu Gopala and as Sri Rasa Manjari. His disciple Lakshmi Priya was the maternal aunt of Ganga Mata, a princess who was the daughter of a king of Putia. Ganga Mata Krishna of Jaipur and installed him in the house of Sarvabhaum in Jagannath Puri. The disciple in the 5th generation after Sri Ananta Acharya was Sri Vanamali. In the 6th generation, Sri Bhagwan Dasa, who was a Bengali. In the 7th generation, Madhusudan Dasa, who was an Oriya. In the 8th generation, Nilambara Dasa. In the 9th generation, Sri Narottam Dasa. In the 10th generation, Pitambara Dasa. And in the 11th generation, Sri Madhav Dasa. The disciple in the 12th generation is presently in charge of the Ganga Mata monastery.
Illustrious personalities here, starting from Ananta Acharya, who is an eternal associate of Lord Chaitanya in Chaitanya Lila, and also he's one of the Ashta Sakhis, Sudevi Sakhi in Krishna Lila, one of Srimati Radharani's closest friends and companions. So these are not ordinary personalities, and these are all in our line, in our Gaudiya Vaishnavacharya line. So we actually have a relationship with these devotees. We have a connection with them, and that's why Srila Prabhupada is talking about them. Dr. Rich.
Hare Krishna Prabhupada Priya. I just wanted to ask, not just with this verse, but with other verses that are like this in the Srimad Bhagavatam, I get very confused with the family members and the generations of family members, you know, the descendants. And
Mhm.
I guess it's a loaded question, but I hope it's okay if I don't understand all the family matters and the disciplic, you know,
Yeah,
generations and stuff.
it's okay. Go for it. Did you want to ask a question?
Oh yeah, I just well, it's more of a comment. I'm just saying that
Oh,
I get really confused with the when they talk about the different generations of family members and who succeeded who, and you know, I'm just concerned about it.
okay. Yeah. It's interesting. It's just like if you look at our Bhagavad Gita as it is by Srila Prabhupada, you look at the last page of the introduction, you'll see a whole enumerated list of our disciplic succession, right? And the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, from Krishna all the way down to our Srila Prabhupada. So there are many branches in the disciplic succession. So this is one branch. So, you know, it's just like a tree. A tree starts with a trunk and then it branches out. And that's actually, you know, it's a great survival strategy for the tree to branch out. And then in each branch, there are twigs and there are sub branches and then twigs and leaves and fruits and flowers. And that way the tree can spread out widely and capture the most light and produce the most flowers and fruits. And so the disciplic succession is like that. It's less of a just a singular line and it's more of a tree. So we have one branch, and now what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur here is describing is another branch, which is bona fide. That we're going to hear about the Chaitanya tree and all the many different branches of the Chaitanya tree. And Prabhupada says that ISKCON is a branch of the Chaitanya tree. So, and he says that as long as they're connected, as long as the branches are connected to the trunk, which is of course connected to the roots, then these branches will thrive and they'll produce the fruits of love of God, which is what we are after. We want these fruits and we want to also share them with others. So all of these branches are glorious. And just to hear the names of these great personalities is purifying, even if we don't know who they are. Hannah?
Hare Krishna, Prabhupada Priya. I just had a question about if Ananta Acharya is Sudevi Gopi in Braj, then why in the Ganga Mata Mat is he known as a Manjari?
Says also, let's see, one of his disciples was Haridas Pandit, who is known as Raghu Gopal and as Sri Rasa Manjari. Where does it say that Anantacharya was a Manjari? Anyways, the thing is, like in Chaitanya Lila, what we see is something very extraordinary. And that is that a lot of many of the personalities that appeared in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes are actually the embodiments of multiple personalities, right? So, for example, Haridas Thakur is Lord Brahma, and he's also, I think, Prahlad Maharaj. So they're both the two souls of those devotees are both in the person of Haridas Thakur. Why that is, don't ask me. But even Advaita Acharya is the combined form of Mahavishnu and Sadashiva. So it's inconceivable. So it may be that, you know, it's Sudevi Gopi and someone else, just like he's saying that Haridas Pandit is actually, oh no, it's not saying two different people. It's saying he was also known as Raghu Gopal and as Rasa Manjari. So
It's in a
yeah, but
sentence. It's in a sentence saying in Jagannath Puri or Purushottama Kshetra, there is a monastery.
there's a monastery. Okay, gotcha. In the disciplic succession of Ganga Mata Mat, he is known as Vinod Manjari. Yeah, so it may be that he is Ananta Acharya is Sudevi Saki and also Vinod Manjari.
Is it kind of like in when different like spiritual visionaries describe a pastime, some will say that the pastime goes like this, And then some will say, like, it's a small detail, but like some will conclude that the pastime is slightly different. Is it kind of like that?
Yeah, I mean, that's because Krishna's pastimes happen over and over again, and each time that they happen, there's some slight differences, right? Like we hear about in Bhagavatam, we hear about the appearance of Lord Varahadev, and sometimes he's blue, and sometimes he's red, and sometimes he does this, and sometimes he does that. But the purpose for which he comes is generally the same, but there are some differences in the path, in the ways in which he fulfills that purpose. So, or the different events that happen along the way. And that's called, there's a term for it. It's called kalpa bade, which means kalpa means the kalpa, the age, the time period in which he appears, and bade means the difference. So it means the difference, the different kalpas, different things happen. The Lord appears again and again in different kalpas, and each time he appears, it's a little different. So we shouldn't get confused and think, oh, this is right and that's wrong. How can these two things, why is one saying this and one saying the other? And because they're both true. And a lot more things are true out there that we haven't heard yet. So, yeah, we need to accept the variety.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
I have heard somewhere, like when two souls in one, I've heard somewhere something like they have a percentage, like 60% their personality shows like Sadashiv, or 40% they will be Mahavishnu.
Mm.
Something like that I've heard.
Okay. I haven't heard a percentage thing like that. But the thing is that depending on, it can also depend on the mood of the worshippers, right? Or the people that are honoring that person. So it may be that the members of the Ganga Mata Mat are more in a Manjari mood, so they like to worship him as Vinod Manjari. Actually, that's interesting because Vinod Manjari is actually a person. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is Vinod Manjari. Okay, the plot thickens. All right, let's go on because I don't think we're ever going to understand this, at least not today. So, text 61. Caitanya Nityanande Tanra Parama Vishvasa Caitanya Charite Tanra Parama Ulasa.
Pandit Haridas had great faith in Lord Chaitanya. Therefore, he took great satisfaction in knowing about their pastime.
Vaishnava Gunagari Nade Kare Dosha Haya Mano Vakye Kare Vaishnava Santosha.
I could read.
Go ahead.
He always accepted the good qualities of Vaishnavas and never found fault in them. He engaged his heart and soul only to satisfy the Vaishnavas. It is a qualification of a Vaishnava that he is a dosha darshi. He never sees others' faults. Of course, every human being has both good qualities and faults. Therefore, it is said, Sajjana gunam icchanti dosham icchanti pamara. Everyone has a combination of faults and glories, but a Vaishnava, a sober man, accepts only a man's glories and not his faults. For flies seek source, whereas honeybees seek honey. Haridas Pandit never found fault with a Vaishnava, but considered only his good qualities.
Yeah, so we had Haridas Pandit. So first of all, I had a thought from the last verse that it says that he had faith in Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, and therefore he took great satisfaction in knowing about their pastimes and qualities. So the more we have faith in, the more we're going to take pleasure in hearing about him, right? Somebody who has no faith in Krishna, they hear something about Krishna and they're just like, all right, who's that? So what, But somebody who really has faith that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna is my worshipable Lord. I have an eternal relationship with Krishna. I'm his eternal servant. He's my eternal master. Then when you hear something about him, you're just like all ears, you want to know. It's so ecstatic to hear about Krishna. It's so enlivening to the heart and soul. So Haridas Pandit was like that. Hannah?
It's super interesting to see that what it said there about him being sober. Him finding the good qualities in others was him being sober, rather than him finding the good qualities in others was him being, like a positive attribute, but rather that was like baseline, almost as if envy or anything other than that is like a form of madness.
Yeah, or like intoxication. Right? You're not seeing things as they are. So that's a fact, is that actually the soul has all good qualities, right? Because we're parts and parcels of Krishna. And we were actually just hearing yesterday in verse 57, this chapter, how Haridas Pandit had said the 50 qualities of Lord Krishna were all present in his body. So all these good qualities, you can read about them in the Caitanya Charitamrita and also in the Nectar of Devotion, the 64 transcendental qualities of Krishna. And the first 50 can be had, or not just can be had, but are present in the jivas, that we, as little parts and parcels of Krishna, we have these 50 qualities that Krishna has in a small, minute sense, but we have them. And these are our actual qualities. And whatever bad qualities we may have, or we may see in others, are not actually the person's qualities. Those are just products of their conditioning, their anarthas, which will be gradually purified away. So because of that, when a pure Vaishnava sees someone, they see the soul. They see the part and parcel of Krishna. They see those 50 transcendental qualities of the soul. And they overlook the faults because they know that the faults are just temporary. Right? It's just like, someone's a very beautiful person. They have some like mud or like, kitchery on their face or something. So you understand that they're a very beautiful person and they just happen to have some dirt, they just need to wash their face, but that's temporary. They're not going to go around for the rest of their life with a kitchery or dirt on their face. But you look beyond that and you see, wow, this person is really radiant and beautiful features and so forth. So that's the soul. The soul is beautiful and radiant and wonderful and full of good qualities. And one who has spiritual vision, who is sober, right? That's what it means to be sober, is to see things as they are, right? An intoxicated person, they're if they on drugs, they're like hallucinating. They're seeing things not the way they are. They're not seeing the reality. They're seeing a hallucination. So sober means to see the reality, and the reality is that we are all pure souls full of good qualities without any faults. And the more we advance, then that can be a test. That's a way of testing our advancement in devotional service, is that we see the faults less. We become less critical. And that's in the Nectar of Instruction. There's a verse that says that the advanced devotee, Uttama Adhikari, is one whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. So that's hopefully we will attain that in this lifetime, right? But we can aspire for that position and try to be conscious of the ways in which we do see faults and try to shift our vision to a more, at least with our theoretical understanding, even if we don't have that vision, but at least we can teach to ourselves that actually that's not the real person. That's just some conditioning, and they're in the shower and they're in the process of getting clean. Try to be like the honeybees that look for the honey, and not like the flies that look for, stool or a dead body or an open sores. Yeah, Kritika.
Just thinking like in terms of fault finding, like when it comes to our own self, like I'm just talking about myself.
Mhm.
When it comes to my own self, then if there are any faults, then I think like, oh, that's okay. It's okay. You will figure it out. But when it comes to others, we become like so critical. We become like, oh, that person is like that. So it just feels like we are like kind of very partial person to ourselves when it comes. We are so kind and we are like, oh no, you will get through this and blah blah blah. When it comes to others, you are like, he did that to me, or like she did that. Yeah.
Yeah, so we should be the opposite. We should be strict with ourselves and lenient with others. And even when we see the faults of others, it can be instructive, because they say that when you point your finger at someone, there are three pointing back at you. So the reason that we see a certain fault in a person is usually because we have that fault and we may not even be aware of it, right? And
And especially if that fault in the other person annoys the heck out of us, like it just really grates on our patience. Because we may be, there may be another person who's also working with that person and they don't even see that fault. Or if they do, it doesn't bother them. So why does it bother me and not that person? It's because I have that fault and it's kind of like illuminating it for me and that disturbs me. Hannah.
Yeah, once I was in a meeting with Giriraj Swami and I was like going on a rant about this person and that person and this person, and he was so tolerant. He listened to the whole thing and then he's like, "Then you don't be that." That was the only instruction I got, and I left there thinking.
What did he say?
He said, "Then you don't be that."
You don't be that.
And I was like, "I'm not that." But then I left and I was thinking, actually, yes, I am. Like all of the ways in which, like, it was different. It was manifesting different, but it was the same fold. And I was like, wow. And anytime I've been like actually contemplative of my own faults, it feels like such an ocean of them that I feel actually that everybody else is doing a kindness by tolerating me. And even though it's hard to look at my own faults in that consciousness, it feels much better to do that than to think, oh, this person is this and that person is that.
Yeah. And then when we realize that we have the fault, then when we see other people with the same fault that we have, we can have some empathy for them because the fault causes us a lot of pain and suffering. It does them too. But we can use it as an impetus to really engage very intensely in the processes of bhakti and seek association from people who are free from that fault. Okay, text 63. Nirantara shune tenho chaitanya mangala tanhara prasade shunena vaishnava sakala. Rich, would you like to read?
Yes, Prabhupada Priya, thank you. One moment, please. He always heard the reading of Sri Chaitanya Mangala, and all the other Vaishnavas used to hear it by his grace.
Yeah, so Chaitanya Mangala we were talking about yesterday is actually Chaitanya Bhagavat, which is the name changed to Chaitanya Bhagavat, book that was written by Srila Vrindavan Thakur mainly about the very detailed description of the early life of Lord Chaitanya. Text 64. Kataya Sava Ujvala Kare Yena Purnachandra Nija Gunamrite Badaya Vaishnava Ananda. Manika, would you like to read?
I'm so sorry. I was in the middle of eating dinner. Maybe someone else can read instead for right now.
Okay, go ahead. Arjuna, do you have it?
Yes. Like the full moon, he illuminated the entire assembly of Vaishnavas by speaking Sri Chaitanya Mangala, and by the nectar of his qualities, he increased their transcendental bliss.
So they used to do something, well, I guess I was going to say similar to what we're doing here, but on a much more exalted, in a much more exalted way, since he was an eternal associate of the Lord. But yeah, sounds like daily they would read about Lord Chaitanya's pastimes in an assembly of Vaishnavas, and they would churn the nectar of the qualities and become happy by doing so. So we are on the right path, following in the footsteps of such great souls as this Haridas Pandit. Tenho ati kripa kari agya kaila more Gaurangera shesha lila varni bharat tare. Nikesh?
By his causeless mercy, he ordered me to write about the last pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
So you can imagine that they were relishing so much these early pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, but they didn't know much about his later pastimes because it wasn't written, at least not in much detail, by Vrindavan Das Thakur. So he approached Krishnadas Kaviraj and he said, you need to share this nectar. Like, we want to know it all. We want to know everything that Lord Chaitanya did. Kashishvara Gosanira Shishya Govinda Gosai Govindera Priya Sevaka Tanra Samanani. Vrindavan Nathpar.
Govinda Gosai, the priest engaged in the service of Lord Govinda in Vrindavan, was a disciple of Kashishvar Gosai. There was no servant more dear to the Govinda deity. Prabhupada's purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya, Kashishvar Gosai was one of the contemporaries of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was with the Lord in Jagannath Puri. Also known as Kashishwar Pandit, he was a disciple of Ishwar Puri and son of Vasudev Bhattacharya, who belonged to the dynasty of Kanjilala Kanu. His surname was Chaudhary. His nephew, his sister's son, who was named Rudra Pandit, was the original priest of Vallabhapur, which is situated about 1 mile from the Sri Ramapur railway station in the village of Chatara. Installed there are the deities of Radha Govinda and Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kashishvara Gosai was a very strong man, and therefore when Lord Chaitanya visited the temple of Jagannath, he used to protect the Lord from the crowds. Another of his duties was to distribute prasadam to the devotees after kirtan. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur visited this temple at Vallabhapur. At that time, the person in charge was a Shaivite, Sri Shivachandra Chaudhary, who was a descendant of Kashishvar Gosai's brother. In Vallabhapur, there was a permanent arrangement to cook 9 kilos of rice, vegetables, and other foodstuffs daily, and near the village there is sufficient land, which belonged to the deity, on which this rice was grown. Unfortunately, the descendants of Kashishvar Gosai's brother have sold a major portion of this land, and therefore the deity worship has now been hampered. It is said in the Gauraganadesha Deepika, verse 137, that the servant of Krishna in Vrindavan, named Bringar, descended as Kashishvar Gosai during the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In our householder life, we also sometimes visited this temple of Vallabhapur and took prasadam there at noon. The deities of this temple, Sri Sri Radha Govinda and the Gauranga Vigraha, are extremely beautiful. Near Vallabhapur is a beautiful temple of Jagannath. We sometimes used to take prasadam in this Jagannath temple also. These 2 temples are situated within a 1-mile radius of the Sri Ramapur railway station near Calcutta.
Yeah, so often in Srila Prabhupada's purports, he'll be quoting from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's Anubhasya, which is his commentary on the Caitanya Charitamrita. And it's very much like a tour guide for pilgrims who want to visit all the places that are mentioned here. So yeah, he tells us about this place. It's near this railway station. You can get there. And then he gives us some of the history of the place, the descendants of the caretakers of the place. And so here we're hearing about Govinda Gosai, who was a disciple of Kashishvara Gosai, who was Lord Chaitanya's bodyguard. He was a strong man that used to protect Lord Chaitanya from the crowds and also distribute prasadam to the devotees. So these are all very special devotees. And he also talks about how they have this culture that the temples in those days, and sometimes it's still like that, they would own a lot of land. So there would be property in the name of the temple. And then that land would be used to grow food that would be for the deity. Or sometimes there would be like houses or apartment buildings on the land, and the rent from the apartments would go to the temple to maintain the deity worship, or there would be shops, and the profits from those shops would go to maintain the deity worship. So in this way, there was a whole sustainable economic system for maintaining the temples and the deity worship, and making sure there's prasadam for everyone, and festivals are celebrated gloriously. But then as time went by, the managers of the temple started, selling off the land or using it for other purposes. And the deity worship was, like he says, the deity worship is now hampered due to not having the resources for it anymore. I remember one time I was in Vrindavan, because I lived in Vrindavan for 10 years. And one time we went down to this legal office, and it was interesting because it was a place where you went to register the deed for your home. Yeah, we had just bought a piece of property there, so we had to register the thing in our name and stuff. And so he had a pile of deeds, property deeds on his desk, and some of them, it was like, it wasn't the name of a person, it was like a name of their deity, because everyone is their household deities. So it'd be like, you know, uh, the owner, the proprietor would be Jagannath Baladev Subhadra, or the proprietor would be, you know, Shri Shri Gaurni Tai or something like that. And I was just like, whoa, this is like something you don't see anywhere except Vrindavan, I think. That the actual property is in the name of the deity, and that prevents anybody from like selling it or repurposing it or, you know, like that. So because they know that, you know, they're taking care of it now, but maybe their descendants, their grandchildren won't. They'll just like, you know, who knows, they could even just tear down the temple and build a disco or something. So that prevents them from doing it because it's owned by the deity. Very interesting, right? Okay. Text 67. Yadavacharya Gosai Sri Rupera Sangi Caitanya Charite Tenho Ati Padarangi. Whose turn? Siddhanta Sagar.
Hare Krishna. Sri Yadava Acharya Gosai, a constant associate of Srila Rupa Goswami, was also very enthusiastic in hearing and chanting about the Lord Chaitanya's pastimes.
So he was one of the attendees that would go and hear Pandit Haridas's Chaitanya Bhagavat recitations. 68. Pandita Gosani Shishya Bhugarbha Gosai Gorakata Vina Ara Mukhe Anyanai. Bhugarbha Gosai, a disciple of Pandita Gosai, was always engaged in topics regarding Lord Chaitanya, knowing nothing else. This Bhugarbha Goswami was one of the first followers of Lord Chaitanya to go to Vrindavan. Lord Chaitanya sent him. Actually, he instructed Lokanath Goswami to go there. Lokanath Goswami became the guru of Narottam Das Thakur. So he instructed Lokanath Goswami to go there, and Lokanath Goswami didn't want to go because he didn't want to leave Lord Chaitanya. Imagine you're there with Lord Chaitanya doing kirtan, having class, like chanting japa together with Lord Chaitanya. And then he's like, hey, I want you to go to Vrindavan, you know, and just stay there and discover the lost places of Krishna's pastimes and start, you know, open temples. And at that time, Vrindavan was like a ghost town, you know, like nobody knew where all those places were. And so Lokanath Goswami was, you know, he was kind of just like, ugh. But then his friend, Bhugarbha Gosai, was his good friend. And he said, you know what, I'll come with you. Let's go together. And that, with that support, and Lokanath Goswami took some confidence and they went. And yeah, Bhugarbha Gosai's samadhi is located in the courtyard of the Radha Damodar temple. It's a little samadhi that when you come to the area where there's Rupa Goswami's samadhi in Bhajan Kutir, and you're going around, there's one samadhi that's over like to the far left, that if you do a big circle, you go, that's Bhugarbha Goswami's samadhi. And he's called Bhugarbha. Bhu means the earth, and Garbha means like, it literally means the womb, but it means like, you know, to enter into the earth. So when they got there, they had no idea where all the Krishna's pastimes happened. It was just all agricultural land and forests. There's no indication. So he literally like just dug, you know, like a bhajan kutir underground, and he just went and sat in that underground place and meditated and prayed to the Lord to reveal the places of his pastimes 5,000 years ago. And he started getting some revelations, you know, and going to those places and getting confirmations on different things that were happening. And that's how we know where Krishna's pastime places are.
What's samadhi?
What's a samadhi? Samadhi is like it's a tomb. It's a monument that's like, yeah, placed on top of the place where that person was, their body is buried.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, 69. Tanra Shishya Govinda Pujaka Chaitanya Dasa Mukanda Nanda Chakravarti Premi Krishna Dasa.
Among his disciples were Chaitanya Dasa, who was a priest of the Govinda deity, as well as Mukunda Nanda Chakravarti and the great devotee Krishna Das.
Acharya Goswami Shishya Chakravarti Shivananda Nilavadi Tandra Chite Chaitanya Nityananda.
Among the disciples of Ananta Acharya was Shivananda Chakravarti, in whose heart Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda constantly dwelt.
Aryata Vrindavane Vaise Bhakta Gana Shesha Lila Shunite Sabara Haila Mana.
In Vrindavana, there were also many other great devotees, all of whom desired to hear the last pastime of Lord Chaitanya.
So they all wanted to hear it. They were all very eager, and they all ganged up on Krishna's cover. They knew how to do this. 72. Moryagya Karila Sabe Karuna Kariya Tansavara Bole Liki Nirajahaya.
By their mercy, all these devotees ordered me to write of the last pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because of their order only, although I am shameless purport. To write about the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not an ordinary endeavor. Unless one is empowered by the higher authorities or advanced devotees, one cannot write transcendental literature. For all such literature must be above suspicion, or in other words, it must have none of the defects of conditioned souls, namely mistakes, illusions, cheating, and imperfect sense perceptions. The words of Krishna and of the disciplic succession that carries the orders of Krishna are actually authoritative. To be empowered to write transcendental literature is a privilege in which a writer can take great pride. As a humble Vaishnav, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, being thus empowered, felt very much ashamed that it was he who was to narrate the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Yeah, so it says near Lajja. Lajja means shyness. He was very shy to do so. He was very hesitant to write. But by the order of the Vaishnavas, all these, great Vaishnavas, he became near Lajja. He lost his hesitation, and he's like, all right, if you guys want me to do this, if this is the desire of the Vaishnavas, it's just like sometimes, devotee will ask you to give a class or, do a service that you feel like, oh my God, I'm not qualified to speak on this topic or whatever. But the devotees are like, no, you got to do it. Like no one else is here to do it. Please, please, please. And then you're like, okay, this is not about me. This is a service. The devotees want me to do it, and I will do it on their request to please them. Not because I think I'm great or qualified, but because I'm being asked to do a service. Hannah?
I feel like I got whiplash reading that because it was like, it's a great privilege and one should take pride, and he felt ashamed. It was very interesting. That combination of, because like you were saying, you feel pride about being able to write about the subject.
About your Gita. Maybe you wrote like the actual Bhagavad Gita translation.
Yeah. Yeah, I was very blessed to be able to write transcendental literature, which is being appreciated by a lot of devotees. Okay, text 73. Vaishnavera Agyapana Chintita Antare Madana Gopale Gelam Agyamadipare. Nikesh?
Having received the order of the Vaishnavas, but being anxious within my heart, I went to the temple of Madan Mohana in Vrindavana to ask his permission also. Purport. A Vaishnava always follows the order of Guru and Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita was written by Krishnadasa Kaviraj Goswami by their mercy. Krishnadasa Kaviraj Goswami considered all the devotees that have been mentioned to be his preceptor gurus or spiritual masters, and Madana Gopala, Sri Madan Mohan Vigraha, is Krishna himself. Thus he took permission from both of them, and when he received the mercy of both Guru and Krishna, he was able to write this great literature, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. This example should be followed. Anyone who attempts to write about Krishna must first take permission from the spiritual master and Krishna. Krishna is situated in everyone's heart, and the spiritual master is his direct external representative. Thus, Krishna is situated antar bahya, within and without. One must first become a pure devotee by following the strict regulative principles and chanting 16 rounds daily. And when one thinks that he is actually on the Vaishnava platform, he must then take permission from the spiritual master. That permission must also be confirmed by Krishna from within his heart. Then, if one is very sincere and pure, he can write transcendental literature, either prose or poetry.
Right. So yeah, Krishna's Kaviraj, even after getting the order, even though being, requested or practically demanded, ordered by all of these devotees who he considered to be his gurus, his Shiksha gurus, Krishna's Kaviraj thought, okay, well, me first go and get the blessings of the Lord. And if the Lord somehow gives me a sign that he also wants me to do this, then it's confirmed. Then I'll be able to go forward with determination. So let's find out what happens. Darashana Kari Kailun Charana Vandana Gosai Dasa Pujari Kare Charana Sevana. Arjuna?
Sorry, which verse are we on?
74.
74. When I visited the temple of Madan Mohan, the priest Goshani Das was serving the feet of the Lord, and I also prayed at the Lord's lotus feet.
So he's standing there in front of the Madan Mohan deity and he's praying very intensely. I've been asked to write about the later pastimes of Lord Caitanya. I'm not really sure if this is what you want me to do. Please give me some confirmation. Please, somehow, I'm asking your permission to do this service for the pleasure of the Vaishnavas. And please let me know what is your desire, whether I should do it or not. And then, Prabhura Charane Yadi Agya Magila, Prabhu Kanta Haite Mala Kasiya Padila. Hannah?
When I prayed to the Lord for his permission, a garland from his neck immediately slipped down.
The Lord's garland just fell off. Yeah. Sometimes there's a picture. Maybe the picture's here. I remember there was a picture that. Oh my God.
Imagine you're praying Caritamrita.
I've seen a picture before that. Oh, here it is.
No.
Yeah, so he's praying there, and you can see the
This is
deity. And then somebody picks it up and puts it on him. So this is Krishna's Kaviraj. This is the deity. And the garland fell off the deity, and then the pujari put it on his neck.
Oh.
Ja. Madan Mohan ki jai.
See it?
Oh, wow, looks beautiful.
Yeah. Confirmation received. 676. Sabha Vaishnava Gana Hari Dvane Dila Gosai Dasa Animala Moragale Dila. Rich?
Yes, one moment, please. As soon as this happened, the Vaishnavas standing there all loudly chanted, Haribol! And the priest Gosani Dasa brought me the garland and put it around my neck.
Yeah. So the priest also knew, right? There were many, we see in the picture, many devotees, many people were there taking darshan of the deity. But Madan Mohan inspired the priest, Pujari, to know like who this garland was for. He put it right on his neck.
my God.
Actually, it reminds me of a story. There's one devotee that I know. He's my god brother from my first guru, and he was telling me that he visited the temple. Yeah, this was in Scotland. He visited the temple in Scotland, and he was curious about philosophy, religion. He was kind of a spiritual seeker, but it was his first time going to a Hare Krishna temple, and he sat in the back and he thought, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna really participate much. I'm just gonna observe. So he sat way in the back and he was just sitting in the corner. He was listening to the class and listening to the kirtan, and he wasn't really chanting. He was just kind of taking it all in and trying to feel like whether this, feels right for him. This is something to pursue or not. And he was also praying. He was praying like, please give me a sign. And then he was looking at the deities and he was thinking that, if this is meant for me, if this is the path, dear Lord, that you want me to follow, then please give me a very clear sign. And he said, as soon as he offered that prayer, the pujari like came out from behind the altar and like walked into the temple room, walked all the way back to the temple room and put a garland on him. And he was just like, he's like started crying. And he just like, he joined the temple. I don't know if he joined that day, but he joined. And he's been a full-time, really ecstatic, amazing devotee ever since. Yeah, his name's Radhika Nagar. He lives in Mayapur now with his family. Hannah.
I just had a reflection because whenever we read that verse that the garland fell and slipped from the Lord's neck, like when he prayed for permission that the garland fell, I was thinking like actually it can happen literally like that, like a flower falls down the deity's hair, but it can also happen almost mystically in other ways where you feel like right when you're thinking or praying something, then a devotee tells you something, or you feel some inspiration within your heart that also feels like a garland slipping down from the Lord's neck, in the same way.
Yeah. One time I was, it was the morning. It was not this last year, but the year before, 2024, when I was leaving to go to India. And I was standing my flight was later that day. I was standing in front of the deities actually my flight was in the morning. So I was at Mangalarti, and that was going to be the only time I was going to be able to see the deities that day before I had to leave. So I'm there at Mangalarti, and no, wait, it must have been Darshanarti. It was Darshanarti. Sorry, I'm getting confused here. It was the Darshanarti, 7 o'clock. I was leaving after breakfast. Okay, so I'm standing there in front of the deities and I'm like praying, please give me your blessings to be able to have, a spiritually fruitful visit to the Holy Dham, and to be able to inspire the devotees that are coming on my yatra to, connect deeply with the Holy Dham and make spiritual advancement and have a great time and have, really nice impressions of your holy places in India so that they'll want to come back and want to dedicate their lives to serving you. Whatever, I was praying like that. and then just then, from Kalachandji, something from his turban fell down, some like jewelry mukut piece fell down. And then I was like, oh my God, I was just like feeling so blessed. And then the kirtan was going on and I was just like feeling really acknowledged, by the Lord. And then as the kirtan was going on, then another like large something from Radharani's hair fell down. And then something else also fell down. I think it was like, like something on her arm, like stuff. It was just like falling off all over. Like 3 different things fell down and it was like clank, clank, clank. And everybody was just like, what is going on?
Their hearts were melting.
And I was just like practically crying. I was like, oh my God, this is like too much. Yeah. So the deities reciprocate with us in their ways. It said that if you offer a prayer to the deities and like a flower falls or something, that's like means your prayer will be answered.
It happened to me, but I did it. When the flower fell, I forgot what I prayed for.
Oh, well, Caitanya remembers, so you don't worry.
Sometimes I'm just standing there spacing out, and then a flower falls, and I'm like, "Dang, I should have been praying."
When the flower falls down, we can pray at the same time also, right?
Very quickly, squeeze a quick prayer in there.
Well, we should read that.
Okay.
Squeeze a prayer.
Text 77. Agyamala Pana Amara Haila Ananda Tahani Karinu E Grantera Aramba. Sneha?
Yes, Prabhupada Priya. I was greatly pleased to have the garland signifying the order of the Lord. And then, and there, I commenced to write this book.
Wow. Then and there, right on the spot, you took out his paper and pen and whatever. Because he had paper by that time, or maybe he was writing on palm leaves. Text 78. E granta lekaya more madana mohana amara likana yena shukera patana. Manika?
Actually, Sri Chaitanya sorry, can you help me with that?
Charitamrita.
Thank you. Is not my writing, but the dictation of Sri Madana Mohana. My writing is like the repetition of a parrot. Purport. This should be the attitude of all devotees. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead recognizes a devotee, he gives him intelligence and dictates how he may go back home, back to Godhead. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavad Gita 10.10.
We
Could
can
you
say
help?
this together.
Yes.
Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam iti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te.
Thank you. And to those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. The opportunity to engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord is open to everyone because every living entity is constitutionally a servant of the Lord. To engage in the service of the Lord is the natural function of the living entity, but because he is covered by the influence of Maya, the material energy, he thinks it to be a very difficult task. But if he places himself under the guidance of a spiritual master and does everything sincerely, immediately the Lord, who is situated within everyone's heart, dictates how to serve him. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. The Lord gives this direction, and thus the devotee's life becomes perfect. Whatever a pure devotee does is done by the dictation of the Supreme Lord. Thus, it is confirmed by the author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yes, I got it. Whatever he wrote was written under the direction of the Sri Madana Mohana deity.
So this is something that we should remember, right? That how Krishna empowers his devotees, how he gives intelligence. And he says, Prabhupada is saying that this opportunity to engage in transcendental loving service of the Lord is open to everyone. So it's not just for people from some ethnicities or nationalities or castes or genders or whatever. It's open to everyone because everyone is constitutionally a servant of the Lord. And because everyone is constitutionally a servant of the Lord, then it's actually, there's nothing more natural for us to do than to serve the Lord. And it's only by the influence of Maya that devotional service is difficult. So, but actually, it's just the most natural thing. It's like breathing. It's like unconditioned when we're free from our conditioning and free from the influence of Maya. It's like you don't have to think about it. You're just gonna serve the Lord spontaneously. You don't have to force yourself to do it or overcome your mind, or when you're chanting japa. Now we're chanting japa, it's like mind is going here, there. It's like a battle, right, with the mind every japa session. But when we're purified, that's because of Maya, right? Maya keeps distracting us. But when we're free from the influence of Maya by Krishna's grace, then the mind just gets absorbed in Krishna's name, right? It's relishing it. It's like the heart and soul are dancing with every name that we chant. Yes, Hannah.
I just wanted to share something that I had heard in a lecture once because it reminded me of it in regards to him saying that he's like a parrot. It's from the Srimad Bhagavat Mahatmya. And it says that one who repeats exactly what he has heard from the mouth of his guru, just as it was spoken, is called a parrot-like listener by the learned. One who is like a swan is separating milk from water, taking the essence and rejecting that which is non-essential, is called a swan-like listener. One who accepts only the essence, like the rain, and is always attached to the narrations of Krishna, even amidst all other subjects, is known as a chatika bird. And one who drinks the nectar of the Bhagavatam with unblinking eyes and constant absorption, like a fish in the ocean, and is known as a fish-like listener.
God. Those are all the ways that we should listen to Krishna Katha. Okay, we'll do one more verse because our time is running out. Text 79. Seliki Madana Gopal Ye Likaya Kastera Putaliyena Kuhake Nachaya. Siddhanta Sagar.
As a wooden doll is made to dance by a magician, I write as Madan Gopal orders me to do so.
Go ahead and read the purport, please.
Sorry, Srila Prabhupada's purport. This is the position of a pure devotee. One should not take any responsibility on his own, but should be a soul surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who will then give him dictation as the Chaitanya Guru or the spiritual master within. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased to guide a devotee from within and without. From within, he guides him as the Supersoul, and from without, he guides him as the spiritual master.
This reminds me of the prayer that Srila Prabhupada wrote on the Jaladuta, right? When he first arrived in Boston Harbor, where he ends that, make me dance, make me dance, make me dance as you like. It says here that as a wooden doll is made to dance by the magician, I write as Madan Gopal orders me to do so. So we should all have this prayer and this feeling, that I'm just Krishna's instrument. I'm just a wooden doll, and I want Krishna to pull the strings and make me dance as he likes. And that will be the secret of a very glorious life. Right? Because sometimes, we have our ambitions, things that we want to achieve in life, and we have our plans for our lives. And if we push that hard enough, then Krishna will let us. Okay, if that's really what you want to do, go do your thing. But it's better to we can go ahead and think and plan and use our intelligence to try to do something valuable with ourselves. But we should at the same time be open to Krishna's prompting. Right? We should be open to Krishna, and we should actually express that. Krishna, I have these ideas about what I think I should do, in my career, in my service. But I would really want to do what you want me to do, and I'm not exactly sure what that is. So if what I'm inspired to do right now is actually your calling for me, want me to do, then somehow confirm that. And if you want me to do something totally different, then please, I don't want to push my own agenda. I want you to just use me as your instrument. And then Krishna will direct. And something that's actually a very useful tool for figuring this out is something which I learned recently, which is called career dharma coaching. So I just actually got certified as a career dharma coach after taking the training from Mother Urmila Prabhu. And I've done, myself, either alone or together with Rihat, we've done almost 20 consultations now. And it's the results are just beyond amazing with how seeing devotees really connect with their nature, their swadharma, and understanding how to connect their nature to their livelihood, to fulfill the mission of this human form of life, and avoid getting caught in a career that is just draining and that they hate and that you feel just oppressed by, but rather to be situated in a career path that where their work energizes them and inspires them. And even Krishna says that when we're properly situated, working according to our nature, then our work actually frees us from sinful reactions. So we don't even get karma for that work. It's pretty amazing. And on the other hand, he says that to follow another's path, to try to work, do an occupation, work in a varna or an occupation that is not according to our nature, that's actually dangerous. That can degrade us. So it's very important just for our own material happiness and satisfaction, and also in the fulfillment of Krishna's plan for us, and just for our spiritual advancement, purification, to work according to our actual nature, dharma. So if anyone out there wants help understanding what your nature is and what your dharma is and what your career path is, then just ask me and we can do a consultation in person or on Zoom. Little advertisement there. But I'm not ashamed to promote it, because I've just seen how it's like really helped people. I see people going from being like just depressed and frustrated and to like, or just confused about what to do, lighting up like with enthusiasm and hope, and their career path. So we can do that for you.
I love that you share that. Thank you so much. Maybe I can reach out to you separately about costs and those type of details.
Sure.
Thank you so
Yep.
much.
All right. Thank you for your interest. So we'll wrap it up now because we're a little over time. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.